You're listening to Crystal and Emily on Love Your Shelf. This week, we talk to fellow librarian Sonja Schulz. This week's title is Secret Societies and Sasquatch. Hi there.
Hello, hello.
I was just reading your text message right before this.
Oh.
And so I'm super excited. I only read like the first part of it because I was trying to get in here, but
Right.
I'm so excited.
They're so loving this. And so, you know how we all have to wear our little IDs on our little lanyards. And I had one of the kids come to me yesterday and he like flashed the little pin.
Oh my God.
And he goes, so what are we going to be doing with this?
Oh my God.
And he was like the third kid who had asked me, and I'm like, okay, so tell you what, we're going to do something amazing. We'll start it in the fall.
Right.
And between now and then, I'll figure out what that will be.
Right. Just say big plans, big plans.
Right? Big, giant, like really super amazing things are going to be happening. So it's been the most fun ever.
Yay.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, that makes me really happy.
So can we talk about this on the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our introduction then.
Okay.
I think.
Yep.
So it's Crystal and Emily here. We're with Sonja Schulz.
Hey.
She's our favorite high school librarian from here in Nacogdoches. And we just embarked. It feels like embarking.
I think that's the right word.
Definitely embarked.
Yeah. On a new project. And because we're in a small town, but there still can be like some distance between the public library and especially teenagers. We love them and we want them to come in and use our stuff and all that stuff. So, we kind of racked our brains about how can we get them interested in the public library and that kind of thing. And we're really excited to have landed on something that seems to be maybe taking off. And so we created what was originally we called, or for other things, we've called it an encounter box.
Right.
But we're taking a different tack thanks to Sonja's advice, and we're doing a mystery society, a secret society.
Very mysterious.
Very mysterious.
And so I would love to hear a little more about like how are they obviously, like you said, they're feeling hopefully special that they are getting to be a part of it. And
oh my gosh, so special. In fact, okay, so I just have to say, I was at Kroger the other night, right? Just minding my own business, like living my life, shopping for some groceries, and another teacher was there, and of course, because small town, and and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to talk to you, girl." And I said, "What?" She said, "This kid came into my class, and I don't know if you realize this, but he is so excited about whatever is going on with this box." And he was like, literally like, "Can I work on this right now?"
Oh my gosh.
And so she let him because he was done with his work and, he's on top of things, right? And so he was giddy. He was like cheering in the room as he was figuring things out. And she was really tickled by it because she's actually the teacher for one of our classes that is like law enforcement class.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so it was, with finding clues and
yes.
fit in with what she does.
So many tie-ins.
So the kids are loving it. Yeah. They do definitely feel special.
Because another thing that I don't think you mentioned, Crystal, is that we sort of also modeled this on like our escape rooms that we've put on here at the library. So Crystal sort of wrote up some clues. We came up with a secret society name. And so the kids are given a chance to figure out all of these puzzles. And I'm honestly so jealous that this wasn't a thing when I was in high school.
Me too.
Yeah. So does this mean we finally understand the teens?
Let's not get.
I think we've cracked one of the codes,
okay,
but
I'm getting too ahead of myself.
Yeah, that's a complex issue for sure.
Oh yeah.
But if we can, get them excited about something, I feel like that is the most success that I can hope for.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy about it.
Here's the fun thing about this too. Across the board, they're excited about it. Like, the girls are excited, the guys are excited.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone, regardless of what little group they belong to, that everybody is giddy about this. And
Yay.
that's been the most fun thing. And then when they get to come share a name with me for the next month's little fun thing, they're just as excited about that.
So we're very excited about keeping this going. We have, I think, some fun ideas for things to come. We're going to try and tie in all different kinds of things. Obviously, even though I'm pretty sure that these students are not listening to our podcast, I'm not going to tell any secrets here. So
excellent. Yes, because you
yeah.
never know. I mean, we have ignited a flame of figuring out mysterious things. And so they may be lurking around. I mean, I had groups of them come lurk in the library at lunchtime holding little things, right? Again, we don't want to give too much away, but trying to figure out the puzzling things by like looking around and behind things. It was the cutest. I don't know. It's the most fun I have had all year. And I'm just so excited to be a part of it. I get to visualize what the kids are doing in a way that, y'all are making these amazing things, but I get the really, really fun part of it is seeing the kids' reactions.
Yeah, that is the one thing I miss about this.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the best things when we do have escape rooms here. I think Emily and I both love just watching how everybody works together or they don't work together.
Yeah, I mean,
and they figure things out.
Yeah, everyone has a different approach, and it's pretty fascinating. And yeah, it's so much fun when they figure it out.
It is.
I will say that reaction is always the same, and I love that.
Well, and here's something that I think would be a really cool follow-up that, since we have established a secret society, I really feel like it might be a fun thing that those kids perhaps get an invitation to a very special, thing at the public library. And then again, that's bridging that gap between us, with a particular invitation. Hey, you are a member of this incredible organization. Here is your invitation to a special event.
Oh, we would love to do that.
I was going to say already plotting.
Yes, good. Yes, I love this.
Cool.
Well, thanks for letting us make you our sort of guinea pig and for giving us all these ideas to make it happen and then being the person like the boots on the ground making it happen. So we really appreciate that.
Hey, I will be your guinea pig anytime. This has been a tremendous amount of fun and I'm really grateful to be a part of it. So thanks again.
Yeah. Well, so really what we obviously normally do on our podcast is talk about things that we're reading, watching, listening to. And so I've got some, but then I'll let you jump in whenever you'd like to. And we can just chat about the stuff that we think is interesting right now.
Yay.
Cool. So we've found ourselves in, over this last year, watching and reading and listening to some, maybe morbid, dark, I don't know. There's a trend. And I don't know if this is just, because since I wasn't really thinking about at least like my overall reading trend before this year, before doing this podcast, I don't know if this is just me or
right. Is this how I've always been, or am I just hyper aware because clearly trying to soothe ourselves and tell ourselves, well, this isn't my life, So.
It could be worse.
Yeah. So it's a weird form of self-soothing, maybe.
Yes. So I've got some books this time that are really going to fall right in line with all of the others.
Love it.
I'm going to talk about first an author, Lauren Bukes. She's from South Africa, and I've talked about her books before. I'm reading another one called Moxieland, and it is in sort of an alternative future, and it's all of there's a lot of this genre right now, or, the past 20, 30 years of, what are we going to do, or what are people going to do when there's nanotech and,
Mhm.
all of these things that really completely rearrange, completely rewire, unhardwire or rehardwire our lives, And so it is definitely a dystopian, but it also addresses a lot of questions about, heroes or saviors or, white knights, people who are the ones who are supposed to come and rescue you.
Mm-hmm.
And who is that going to be? And is there going to be something like that?
Anyone?
Yeah. And so her books are very dark. There's lots of gray area, but fully engaging. And yeah, I would definitely highly recommend.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And then it ties in. I've got several nonfiction ones, but I'll kind of do these in a particular order, I think. So
I'm intrigued by that.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So I think we'll go by, first of all, order in which they're published.
Mm-hmm.
But Elizabeth Colbert a few years ago wrote The Sixth Extinction.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's got a book out called Under a White Sky, The Nature of the Future. And once again, here we are looking at, what's going to happen with global warming. What is human civilization going to look like with these kinds of things? And she's super smart, really well supported, evidence-based.
Nice.
And it might not be, well, maybe I was going to say glowing, but maybe glowing is the actual term for it. It's a white hot take on.
There you go.
I like that better. Anyway,
So this is like the nonfiction dystopian you're reading,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, great.
I just fall into this, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. And so, but yes, I definitely recommend it. She's always worth reading. And so is Michael Lewis, who is the author of another nonfiction book that I just started. But it's called The Premonition, a Pandemic Story.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the author of Moneyball, The Big
Oh,
Short, The
okay,
Blind Side.
Yes, I knew that sounded
Uh-huh.
familiar.
Yeah. And so he's writing about our last year or so and leading up to the outbreak of COVID. And he's talking about these really, really fascinating characters of these people that were sort of not connected individuals, just doing their things in their little isolated way, but they really impacted how things are going for us now.
Oh.
So, yeah. So there's like a 13-year-old girl did a science project on airborne pathogens and how they're transmitted.
Oh.
And it helps inform a model for disease control.
Right.
How cool is that?
Yes.
Kids are the coolest. They're always the coolest.
I know, man.
They're just uninhibited by,
Mhm.
you
Yes.
can't do that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
They don't know that they can't do it, so they do it.
I know.
Right.
And then there's a group of doctors, which they're nicknamed the Wolverines.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Tell me.
Do they
more
look like Hugh
immediately.
Jackman?
Now that would put it over the top.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
I think they should cultivate that fully.
I do too. I want to see that movie.
I'm all all it. Mhm.
A lab full of Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman plays
Yes.
all of the doctors. Yeah.
But so they basically have all the wherewithal to solve all of the problems for the pandemic, but they don't have permission. And so what do they do about that?
Oh, cool.
So anyway, another
Wow.
great book. I haven't finished it, but I'm probably gonna slam through it this weekend because
Yeah.
I go through moments where I've got the fatigue of talking about what we're going through and that
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Right.
And then other times I want to be more informed about
I
it. So
know. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I walk that line too.
Yeah,
Sometimes I've
yeah.
had a lot of reality When the world feels particularly heavy, I need some, something to just whisk me away. But then I know I need to come back and be informed.
Unfortunately, we have to come back, but
yeah. Well, so that leads into the last book, at least, that I'll talk about, which is called Broken.
Oh no.
But in the best possible way by Jenny Lawson.
Oh,
and
yes.
Yeah. So this is a new book of hers. I've talked about her before. She's hilarious. She has a huge online following. But she, it's basically just her like humorous takes on her dealing with depression, which I mean, everybody kind of, I think, is experiencing on some level.
The filter that I want that I want when talking about depression.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it is, I mean, I think that there is obviously humor to almost any situation.
Right.
And that's kind of a way to help lift yourself out of it.
There was a great podcast I listened to a few years ago called The Hilarious World of Depression. And it was a bunch of comedians who deal with different kinds of depression. And just sort of them telling stories, making it funny. I don't know. Anyway, I love that concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of creative people, and especially a lot of comedians, that's that's where their foundation is.
Yep,
definitely.
It's a coping mechanism.
Right.
Oh,
I think librarians are probably up there.
I was gonna say
librarians and comedians. Yeah, slide us right in there for sure.
Well, do you have any books that you'd like to recommend or not recommend?
I would love to share a book with y'all that I'm reading right now.
Yay.
It's called These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. And so first of all, can I just say that I'm super impressed with the author. This is her debut novel, and she wrote it as a full-time student at Penn State. And it's a really beautiful, you know how some writers just have this amazing ability to not only create a really cool world and do a lot of really cool world building, but also like their prose is just almost lyrical, and you just are swept up in the beauty of the words. And so swept away in both the story and the words. So the author, just for a little bit of background, she was born in China, raised in New Zealand, and now coming to school in the States. And so she wanted to write something that like reflected both her Western education that she's getting, as well as her Chinese ancestry and heritage. And so she has taken the story of Romeo and Juliet, reimagined in 1920s Shanghai. So if you were to take like Romeo and Juliet and you were to mix it up with The Godfather and then add in a monster, then you've got the story.
Nice.
I can't stop gasping.
She's gonna pass out.
I'm gonna pass out.
Right? It's so fantastic.
That is so cool.
It is amazing. Well, and so I have a weird affinity for all things mobster related anyway. So
I'm right with you.
There are these, two rival gangs, and so Juliet in the story is named Juliet, and she has just returned to Shanghai from getting her education in the States. And she has always had this, sort of off, not allowable love, undying love for the rival gang's first son, right? Roma, who is part of this Russian gang. So anyway, it's just, it's dark, and there's like lots of really cool historical, you would think you were reading historical fiction other than there's this, ridiculously awful, horrendous water monster. So that I don't believe lived in 1920 Shanghai, but I could be wrong. It's fantastic. It will sweep you away in the very best possible way. It is amazing. So
Oh my
highly
God.
recommend.
That
Oh,
I'm reading that, but it's on my list.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And it's the first in a duology, and the second one
Oh,
has now come out. And she's so clever. Okay, so I haven't read that one yet, obviously. The titles are These Violent Delights and These Violent Ends, which put together
Oh.
is part of a famous Shakespearean quote.
yeah.
Yeah. So clever.
So clever.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
And in fact, I'm so glad that this is tying in, because I actually was going to talk about a show that I've been watching called Euphoria.
Oh.
It's on HBO. And have you watched it, Emily?
We started it a long time ago, but we were watching other stuff. I've always meant to come back to it.
Well, in the episode that I watched last night, it's Halloween, and the characters go as Romeo and Juliet, but as the Baz Luhrmann version.
Oh, yeah.
So as an angel with
yeah,
the wings
and the
and
knight.
Yeah.
and so how funny. What a
Yeah,
coincidence.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were gonna bring up what's the other HBO show with Evan Rachel Wood, the robots? Why can I Westworld, because in the first season there's something about these violent delights that I don't remember how that comes in, but it's quote
either
or something.
the title of an episode, or they do quote it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to write that on my to be watched list.
Westworld is great, and so is Euphoria. At least, what I've
very,
seen.
very, very different.
Very different.
They're both very violent, so it brings in that
there you go.
violent ends, but or not. Yeah, I'd definitely say violent. Euphoria is about teenagers, and it's a real raw look at contemporary, high school students.
Yeah.
And then Westworld, of course, is another like alternative future, where these androids basically populate theme parks, but they're so lifelike and realistic that nobody can really tell that they're not human. And then people go like vacation there and they interact with these androids, and
it's a really crazy concept.
Creepy.
Yeah. But yeah, both are HBO and really great.
Oh, fantastic.
And both should have a new season soon. I know both were
I guess you're right.
They were both prolonged due to COVID, but they're still shooting those.
Yeah.
And I also watched another series on HBO last week, Mayor of Easttown.
Yes. This was one I was going to bring up last week, but we did Guilty Pleasures. So I'm excited you watched this.
Yeah, this is definitely not a guilty pleasure. It is it's a really good show, and I'm interested to know what you think about it. But Kate Winslet plays the main character, and she's in a small town in Pennsylvania. She's a detective on the police force, and it's not like a super new take on that genre,
a murder mystery. It has a lot of the tropes that you see.
But the acting is top notch. Guy Pearce is in it. Jean Smart plays her mother.
Yeah.
I love her.
I know.
Me too.
And so it's really good. It's also pretty raw, and of course murder mysteries as contemporary murder mysteries are pretty rough, but
it took me like maybe the first episode to not get past, because that sounds so negative, but get used to the Pennsylvania accent.
That's the one thing I was going to bring up. It is super specific, and they all are doing it like, I don't know. It was really noticeable for me with Kate Winslet, because she pronounces certain words very particularly.
Right. Well, and I've seen her, because at first I thought maybe she was just having trouble with an American accent. And I said to my fiance, how strange. Like, she usually, she's somebody I think of who does an amazing American accent. Like, she doesn't sound like she has an English accent at all. And so I was like, how strange. Like, it sounds like she's really struggling. And then we were like, oh, this is where we are. This is the, yeah.
Right.
But it was great.
Once you get into it, and then, and of course, everybody sounds like that, you know, it doesn't, it's not so jarring, but
right. Oh, goodness. But yeah, I'm glad you watched that. I've been really pleased with it so far.
Well, I'm going to barrel on to a couple of other things.
Please
do. Oh, please do. Yeah. Listen, I'm just greedily writing all these down. I mean,
yep.
Right.
That's what I do.
It's literally my favorite thing, aside from making mysteries.
Yep.
My favorite thing is to recommend stuff for other people.
Talk about them.
And then, and then hear about what they're reading and listening to. So, this is my favorite time at work.
Yep.
Yay.
So, Emily mentioned last week a show on Hulu called Sasquatch. And you didn't tell me, I think you did. Anyway, she didn't tell me any details, and so I didn't know what to expect, but I had a feeling that it was not going to be about Bigfoot.
I don't know if I did.
Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe
because I was like, I've seen it on Hulu, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I was trying. I also have a bad memory, and it's possible I watched something.
I think you would remember this one.
Okay, excellent.
So it's about this guy, David Holthouse, I think is his name. And Holthouse. And he was this gonzo journalist who was always covering like the most cutting edge stuff and like embedding himself with, meth users and stuff, all this kind of thing. And so the story starts out, it's actually it's very easily bingeable because it's only 6 or 7 episodes and they're short.
Nice.
And you can watch it in a weekend easily. And so he starts out, he's telling the story of he was embedded with these marijuana growers in Mendocino County in California, like in the 90s.
Okay.
And these 2 guys run into this cabin. It's really secluded. They run into this cabin and they say that they found these bodies, and not to put too fine a point on it, but they were disposed of in such a way that they were like, Bigfoot killed them.
Oh. Okay. So it is an actual Bigfoot reference.
It's
like, I mean, the Sasquatch name.
Well, okay. Well,
okay.
But so that's what like started him on this current journey. So he's trying, because when he found out about this story, he just left the marijuana farm and then just never found out anything about it. As you do in the early 90s, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody's just, there were some murders. Fine. Okay, I'm going to go about my day. Never heard anything about them. So he starts, he's like, years later, he says, whatever happened to these guys? And he tries to go investigate it. And so this whole time I'm having like deja vu that I've heard the story. And there is another documentary about 8 years ago about a similar thing.
So there's a similar thing?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Good point.
Exactly. It was wild. And so he basically goes up there and he starts, asking around. He's talking to these people like, do you remember this story? Did you know what happened? Who these guys were? Did it even happen? Were there murders? And I'm not going to give anything away because there's a really good twist.
Ooh,
but
I know.
But he does find out, and it is a very dangerous place. It's called that Mendocino County, Humboldt County, and the third county, I think Trinity, is the Emerald Triangle is what they call it.
Okay.
And so for like the past 30, 40 years, that's where a bunch of marijuana growers have been, and it was super illegal for a long time.
Right.
And they all like very jealously guarded their terrain and that kind of thing. And so there's always like people ripping each other off and that kind of thing. And that was part of the story that he tells at the beginning, because the guys, come running in and say Bigfoot killed some people. And they say, well, it's probably them getting ripped off, which is the term that they use for that. And they said, no, all of the plants were still left. They just murdered the people.
Okay.
And so that was part of why they thought,
Bigfoot.
it must be Bigfoot, because
Right.
obviously Bigfoot's not a stoner. So
well, I mean, maybe
or
that's
trying to
obvious.
make money. Yeah.
So I definitely, especially since it is, pretty short, I recommend it. It's for a documentary. It's got all the things that you want.
Cool. I'm in.
It sounds fantastic.
Yep.
But it did remind me, and the deja vu was real, because there's another documentary, but it's on Netflix, and it's called Murder Mountain. And there was another murder. Well, there were multiple murders, but the one that they're talking about in this documentary was in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody goes to investigate, what happened to this guy. And it turns out that what they uncover in that documentary is that there's so many missing people that go there, particularly undocumented people, because they go there to work.
Still, like in the Emerald Triangle area?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And all in the same place.
Wow.
And they go up there to work on these farms and then never heard from again.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Yeah. And in both the documentaries, like, you get the sense that there are some real bad actors who are getting upset that people are poking around,
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah. So they're both very good. But it also reminded me of another movie, which is not anything to do with.
I'm like, don't tell me there's another thing.
Right? What are the odds?
There's just an unlimited number of documentaries on this.
Right.
But no, in 2008, this real indie movie came out, made by the Duplass brothers. And they actually, as I was looking at, they actually were producers on Sasquatch. But they made a movie, and they've made, if you're into indie movies, you might have heard of The Puffy Chair, and they've made a bunch of other movies since then. But they made a movie called Baghead. And it just reminded me, like, the setting and everything of these documentaries, because it's about this group of friends who goes out to a cabin in the woods. And then they're terrorized by a guy with a paper bag on his head.
Oh.
And it's so ridiculous.
I mean,
and
this
ludicrous.
guy is honestly ingenious. Like,
right.
I feel like a lot of bad guys go over the top when they could have used a paper bag all along.
Right?
Yeah.
So simple.
We don't need all this stuff.
Exactly.
No hockey mask.
Oh my
just put a paper bag. But anyway, so it's kind of like a comedy horror kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nudge, nudge. Yeah.
But I just thought it was really hilarious that they were, involved in both of those.
Yes.
So funny.
The paper bag.
I love it.
Or Baghead? Is that what you said?
It's called Baghead.
Okay, even better.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, I think that's pretty much the extent of mine. I have others that I am into or getting into, but I think I'll save them to talk about them next week.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
This is sort of a follow-up. You mentioned this, Crystal, a couple of weeks ago. I started watching The Irregulars on Netflix and really like it. I didn't expect to, but I really like it. Takes place in the Sherlock Holmes world, and it's sort of it's a group of teens, kind of street rat teens who are get roped into Dr. Watson calls on them to help him solve these supernatural crimes that are going on. And I don't know, even like the crimes themselves sort of remind me of Sherlock Holmes mysteries. I don't know, like I'm trying to think. There was one, like, I feel like there's some alliteration in the names, which you think of Sherlock Holmes. And I don't know. I started watching it because I actually started and finished Shadow and Bone, also on Netflix. And I really liked it too. I wish that I'd read the book before watching the series, honestly, but just going to go with it. And I'm looking forward to season 2.
There you go.
But yeah, both of those are sort of, there's kind of a steampunk paranormal trend right now. I feel like.
Yeah.
Because we talked about recently The Nevers.
Yeah.
Which is very much that. And that's on HBO now.
Yeah. And I kind of felt like Shadow and Bone wasn't real. I felt like it was almost like Russian steampunk. And I say that with a question mark because it was just, and again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know sort of how the world is set up and described. But yeah, anyway, I'm here for it. So keep it coming.
Yeah, my impression just at first glance of Shadow and Bone was very Hunger Games.
Yeah.
That kind
and
of.
I mentioned last week that I'm a sucker for dystopian teens
I love
getting
it
into
too.
shenanigans. Yeah.
Definitely.
So anyway, that's what I've got really that's new this week.
Well, I cannot wait to dive back into our secret society. I think this is dangerous for me because I have a puppet master tendency, and a little bit, but it is
good
a lot
to know
of fun.
yourself. Yeah.
She's very self-aware.
Yeah, I try to tamp it down as much as possible. So that's why I'm saying this may be a disaster for everyone.
No, this is greatness.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And thank you so much for taking some time to listen to us.
So much fun.
And share
Thanks so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
We'll have to have you back again. We can get an update on the secret society and what you're up to.
Yes. And I'm looking forward to the time when this COVID madness is over, and not only can we invite my kids to the public library to do something, but we can invite you guys to our library to do some things. And I think that'll be great. So
yes, we'd love it.
Long live the secret society.
Yes.
Who knows? This may have far-reaching implications.
I think it will. I see this because the kids have now decided it will. So therefore,
yep, we have no choice.
Yeah.
What have we done?
Actually, I have my last thing I'll mention is we have talked about recently the book The Passage, and it's about this like huge global event that wipes out most of everybody. But there's like a group of people that are left in one place, and they just have these like bits and pieces of what society was before. And I want to leave us with the thought of like people finding this secret society sometime in the future and wondering,
made this?
I love this.
So that's going to be what I spend my daydreaming time thinking about.
I think
fantastic.
I think that's worthwhile time spent.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks again for having me on, y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll
talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.